Remember a place where you felt utterly free. And a time when you left the familiar behind. When you took the road and roamed free on the land. Across plains, valleys and fields. To follow the calling of the coast and the sea, where majestic landscapes open up to the waves of the Atlantic, a place which they call Alentejo. To me, Alentejo is the embodiment of freedom. A land so wide and so open, one that's considered the wild, wild west of Europe. Portugal's largest region is incredibly vast and sparsely populated, and it makes for a great place to just take your car, drive, and be absolutely free. I came back in the summer to see another side of Alentejo, one that's been quietly, seductively whispered to the ears of those who know how to listen. They call this place Costa Vicentina, and let me tell you, it's undeniably one of Portugal's best kept secrets. We're miles upon miles of stunning coastal sceneries that look like snapshots of a distant past, when coasts naturally look like this, reminding us that this part of Portugal isn't lost, but rather quietly celebrated and preserved. Therefore, Costa Vicentina is the wild coast of Portugal. Getting there means you have to be ready to take the off-the-beaten path, drive through long, dusty country roads where the sun scorches and the land is burnt and glows like ochre. But take that freedom on the road ahead of you and embrace that spirit of adventure, and you'll be rewarded with an experience of this unspoiled part of Portugal that's often underappreciated. Leave your expectations behind and you'll be rewarded with vast rustic lands and rolling fields, peaceful seaside towns, magnificent orchards and vineyards, and then that long stretch of the pristine Alentejana coast, all rough-hewn natural beauty of sand, dunes, cliffs, and beyond, the dazzling Atlantic Sea. On this journey, first we took a deep dive into the southwesternmost part of Alentejo, or the natural park of the Byzantine coast. There's a place hidden deep into the heart of the VILARIN valley, nestled among the gentle sloping hills. This rural farmland retreat, a refuge surrounded by nothing but the splendor of nature. This is MONTE de VILARIN. Staying here is an absolute reminder of the peace and serenity that only the countryside can offer, where life can be more laid back, where time flows at an easier pace. Time here flows unhurriedly, without haste, and I've been told this is an experience which they call Alentejo time. I loved staying here, and they've truly built this place as if in a humble service to its environment, to blend with the mountains, to provide calm and contemplation, away from all the distractions. And just a moment's drive away is a sight to be seen, the pure, unspoiled, unabashed beauty of Costa Vicentina. This is Praia da Bordeira in Carrapateira, a quiet, sleepy fishing village that happens to offer some of the most remarkable coastlines in Portugal. On this trip, I was joined by my great friend Salvador, who is a sommelier, who introduced me to some of the most amazing wines in the region and showed me some of the best places the Alentejo has to offer. We took the road and did the best thing to do in this region, go on an adventure exploring the towns on this magnificent Portuguese coast. First, we headed to Aljezur. Situated just at the edge of the southwestern Alentejo and the Vicentina coast, here is a town that displays remnants of an old Moorish fortification, the last castle in Portugal to be conquered from the Moors by the Knights Templar. There isn't much left in the castle aside from the exterior walls, but the view up here dominates an absolutely spectacular view over a great valley. Another example of Alentejo's rich and diverse history is embodied in a town named Santiago do Cacém, situated slightly at the northern part of the region, a town that encapsulates its Celtic, Roman, Moorish, and then later won by Knights Templar during the arrival of Portugal's first king. This was made later part of the realm, dominated by the Order of Santiago, hence the name. Meanwhile, the town's ancient origins can be traced among the Roman ruins of Mirobriga, which is just a stone's throw away, showing the deep connection of Alentejo to its Roman colonization. To the west of Santiago de Cacém is the city of Sines, perhaps the most industrial part of the Alentejo coast, a significant port town in this part of Portugal, made even more symbolic being the birthplace of one of the greatest figures in world maritime history, Vasco da Gama, whose monument here overlooks the Bay of Sines. I find that the most pleasure to be had in the city is walking around its castle walls and later exploring its streets and enjoying the local cuisine. And just when you think that this is all that Sines had to offer, wait till you go to one of its villages, the absolutely stunning Porto Covo. This is one of Costa Vicentina's best kept features, a small and bright fishing village with roads that lead down to the rocky cliffs and the sea. With an incredible selection of beach coves, you'll never run out of choices which beach to go. Life in coastal Alentejo is indeed deeply united with the Atlantic Sea, that a day on the beach is perhaps the most fulfilling thing to do out here. Where sun on your skin and sand on your feet are enough to feel content. Which leads us to perhaps Costa Vicentina's most idyllic, most picturesque and popular summer resort town, Vila Nova de Milfontes. As soon as I stepped into this town, I truly felt there couldn't be a better place to be in this summer, where you can spend days lazing under the sun in the soft rippling waters where the Mirror River meets the sea. I've discovered that this place is beloved by the locals, where you can still experience a true and authentic Portuguese coastal life. And I couldn't be any happier to experience this incredibly charming town with its beautiful colours and whitewashed houses that dazzle under that Alentejo light. Historically, there's a fortress here, Fort de São Clemente, which was built to ward off pirates from the sea. And Vila Nova de Milfontes is also linked to Portuguese aviation history, where the first historic flight between Portugal and Macau was launched. But truly, the coast here is the main attraction, the central protagonist of this region. Long stretches of white sandy beaches and unspoilt sea landscapes that remain the crowning glory of Costa Vicentina coastline. After a few days on the beaches, we took a little break and headed inland to experience a bit of farm life. Unexpectedly, we stumbled upon a place called Aquintinha, in the rural farmlands of Cercal do Alentejo. I spoke to the couple who own it, Emma and Tom, who both found their new home and freedom here in Alentejo.
We want nature, we want ocean, and we want something kind of unspoiled.
I wouldn't last a second in the city. I like going to the sea shows and whatnot, but yeah, being here is like the total opposite. You have space, not many people, and just freedom, and it's exactly what we were looking for.
Kind of like a very simple life that we chose, and this is a place you can do that. You don't need to buy fancy clothes to live here. You don't need stuff. You can just be yourself and live at your own pace. You can't rush anyone here, so it's good. It's kind of, yeah, in the Pacific it's a bit the same. It's island time. Here is Alentejo time.
Strangely enough, I think people are more looking for that nowadays. They realize that, okay, we're gonna slow down. Like, we have everything you need, but what actually you don't have is just this.
True.
Space and nature.
We actually said, oh, we're going back home, and it's actually quite a nice feeling. You feel like you belong somewhere. That's nice.
After this invigorating dose of quiet farm life, we headed to our last destination in this trip to experience one of the finest and most reputable wines in the Alentejo region, the vineyards of Herdade do Cebolal. With our sommelier Salvador on the lead, we were kindly welcomed by Luís Capitão, the fifth-generation winemaker entrusted to run the vineyards and wine production here that goes all the way back to the history of his family from 1876. With over 20 hectares dedicated to vineyards and over 60 hectares for forests, Luís explained the significance of having a multiculture as opposed to monoculture of vines, with a diversity of forests nearby that helps enrich the organic matter and quality of wine. I asked Luís what sets his wines here apart from a typical Alentejo wine.
Alentejo and Évora, it's in the summertime it's very hot. Normally in the day the temperature is 42 minimal, 47 degrees, but in the night it's 33, 34 degrees. So we don't have this big amplification. In this region, in the day it's 42, 41, 40, but in the night it's 18, 17, 16 degrees. So the wines have more acidity, more fresh style. It's more, the alcohol it's not too much. So we don't have in our wines sugar. So it's a dry style. In Alentejo we have more complexity, more sugar. So it's different ideas.
Luís also tells us that having 12 different types of soils and 3 microclimates contributes significantly to producing varied, distinct flavors of wine.
The difference is the soil and the weather. This is the soil, this wine, the soil is limestone, in Portuguese we said calcário. The brother it's shale, and in Portuguese we said xisto. This is a Mediterranean style because the weather is more hot. The brother it's more fresh because we have more humidity, more water in the subsoil. So it's the same percentage, the same wines, the same varieties, but the terroir is different.
Finally, I asked our sommelier Salvador about his favorite wines from our wine tasting. Let's start with the whites.
The second white blend between 3 Rintos. It's my favorite white. Very fresh and still have that crispy acidity, that alive could be also to drink like lemon, lime juice. Very elegant, very fresh.
And the reds?
The Cacém impressively was my favorite red. But still the claret have that crispy acidity, very well done. Of course, very gastronomical wines, that the two styles. Also, a very light alcoholic speaking, have to drink in a low temperature also.
And I ask if you could summarize the wine experience here in Herdade Cebolal in just one word.
Stunning, that's the word.
After spending this time in Alentejo, the word stunning might be a total understatement.
Take me, free your ghosts. No, they can't haunt us both.
I realized that after all these days on the road, surrounded with nothing but nature, these peaceful farmlands, these historic towns, the vineyards, the unspoiled coast and the sea, Alentejo attracts a certain kind of people, those that value character, those that value freedom. The freedom to live a life of utter simplicity, the freedom to create authentic flavors, the freedom to live in their own peace, at their own pace. And unexpectedly, here I also felt the freedom to create. Alentejo is about appreciating the simple things, where the most joy you can get is by sitting in a simple roadside restaurant with grilled fish and a bottle of wine. A place where happiness is derived from spending time in the sun on an unspoilt stretch of sand and sea. A place where journeys are delightfully interrupted by a herd of cows crossing your path. A place where the simplest of pleasures is derived by being surrounded by farmlands as far as the eye can see. And at night, a place where you can truly gaze at the stars so clear up above. In Alentejo, there is no glamour and no pretension. Life here feels honest and true, and I was blown away by the kindness and sincerity of the people around me. Life here requires more effort, yes, but in the last stretch of unspoiled part of Western Europe, it's a necessity, and yet everything is simpler in so many ways. That sun-kissed, unspoiled, authentic life, that's the real beauty of Alentejo.